Welcome to episode 209 of the Reptile Gumbo podcast. We have made it. We are here.
Yay. I'm tired.
Yeah, we had a 4-day weekend, and now I just need sleep from a weekend.
Yeah. You were busy this weekend.
I know. I'm tired.
I was not.
Hello to the folks in the chat. Hey, Nathan.
Look a little rough.
Shout out for our website. Just want to give a shout out for our website. Thanks, Nathan. It's the reptilegumbopodcast.com. Go check it out. If you ever want to know who we've had on in the last 208 episodes, go check it out. And I'll tell you exactly which episode to go to.
That's so cool.
I appreciate it.
So much on that website.
Yeah. I use it to reference back whether I've interviewed somebody at this point, because I honestly forgot on some.
That's awesome, though.
I'll go back. Okay, good. I've had them on. We're good.
That's so funny.
So we get some sponsor stuff out of the way?
Yeah. We have Lil's Shop of Horrors.
Lil's. There's an S on there. Lil's.
Would you stop interrupting?
Lil's.
I'm going to make you do all of this.
No, go ahead. You got this.
They operate a commercial feeder breeder facility based out of San Antonio, Texas, and they specialize in rats, mice, dubia roaches, Madagascar hissing cockroaches, and more. As feeder breeders, they focus on the nutritional needs of the animals that consume them. Nationwide shipping is available on live insects from frozen rodent shipments. Reach out to check availability in your area. They're doing weekly meetups throughout South Central Texas and are aiming to expand their meetup locations this year. So follow them online and keep up to date on their meetup schedule. If you're looking to place an order, feel free to contact them through any of their social media pages, Lil's Shop of Horrors, or email them to get an inquiry out to them.
Yes, check them out. While we're talking about them, we'll go ahead and talk about our April giveaway. I posted our April giveaway over on our Facebook group, and I shared it over on our discussion page also. But our giveaway this month is thanks to Lewis over at Lil's Shop of Horrors and the Reddies over at Reddies Rainforest. Lewis is going to donate 500 small dubia roaches. So anybody out there who's been thinking about maybe doing dubia roaches as a feeder for any of your lizards or anything, you can start up a colony. He's going to help you out. So 500 small dubia roaches. And then the Reddies are giving us a bag of their feeder fuel, which I've got my bag right here of their feeder fuel, which my roaches absolutely love. Katie's used it with their super worms. They went crazy over it.
It's gone.
Yeah, they eat it quick.
No time.
It did change the color poop of my roaches. Their poop is now white.
I don't do anything with the roaches, so I wouldn't know.
It's white instead of brown. But they're growing great.
So
all you have to do to win the 500 roaches and the feeder fuel, go over to our Facebook group, find the post pinned at the top. All you have to do is go like and follow the Reddies and Lil's Shop of Horrors and answer the question, which is, what is your least favorite feeder? And there are some interesting ones.
I got some.
We may hit on some of those later on in the show, some of the least favorite feeders. Katie, you'll be right at home with a lot of those. Plus, I am too. There's some fruit flies in there. I'm not a fan of fruit flies. So go over to our website or over our Facebook and check out the giveaway. And you got it all April. We'll pick a winner at the end of the month. One person's going to win 500 small dubia roaches and feeder fuel to go ahead and start your colony. Trust me, if you have any insect eating lizards and you haven't done dubia roaches and you've been doing crickets, go ahead and make the switch. Crickets suck. They smell bad. They end up, one gets loose somewhere and you're going to end up having it go off in the background all night long and drive you nuts. The roaches don't smell bad. They're easy to take care of. Dubias can't climb, which is great. You put them in a plastic tub. Look, I'm not going to lie. Here's, I got it on the table. This is my little dubia colony right here. For anybody that's watching, it's a little plastic black tub with holes drilled in the top. And they do great.
So close to my head.
They'll be fine. They're in it. They're in the tub. Climb out. You're good.
The tub, and it's very notice I make him use the tubs with the locking lids because we're not taking a chance that I run into it as close as I
knock it over. So go over there, check it out. Get into our giveaway. Also, if you need any LED UVB light bulbs, check out VivTech products and use code GUMBO22 to save 15% on your next order, which you did today.
I did today.
Ordered.
It'll be here Monday.
Yeah, sometime. So it should be getting a new pet sometime next week. My northern blue tongue.
Exciting.
Cage, I'm hopefully getting tomorrow.
Yep.
Lights next week.
Yep.
And I should be ready to go. So, and then it's going to go in here somewhere.
We're rearranging.
And then we're also, we're taking a trip.
Yep.
The two of us with our daughter. And we're also, Robert. I know y'all haven't seen Robert in forever, but he's still alive. Robert is going to go with us and his son, Logan. And we're going to go finally to Reptilandia.
I'm excited.
We've been talking about it. I cannot wait to see Reptilandia and those cages. I have not heard a single bad thing about them. And on the way back by,
a good trip.
We may be swinging by a friend of ours in Austin, picking up a lychee.
She's planning on us swinging by. So, yeah.
So we're gonna go see our friend Corey, and I'm getting a lychee. So this is becoming a lizard room quickly, and I don't like things with legs, but I keep getting things with legs because I do like them. They eat too much. Non-legged things don't eat as much. Is your charger not working?
I don't think it'll work. I'm trying to multitask, and I probably should not be, and that's the problem.
So go VivTech, get your bulb. Also, let's hit up the Herps Reptile shows real quick. We have April 6th and April 7th coming up this weekend. They're in Slidell, Louisiana. So go on over to Slidell. Then, what are you doing?
I'm getting up.
Could you be more awkward about it? April 20th, April 21st is Austin, Texas. Then West Monroe, Louisiana, May 4th and May 5th. Then the big show in Conroe, June 8th, June 9th. Then over to Longview, Texas, June 22nd, 23rd. Slide back to Slidell. Wow, that's pretty quick. July 20th and 21st. Then Sulphur, which again, if you're used to the Lake Charles show, that's the Sulphur show. It just got moved a couple miles down the interstate, July 27th and 28th. And then up to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, which I'm not driving to Oklahoma. That's the other side of the world from me. But if you're up there, August 3rd and August 4th, go check out the Herps Reptile shows, get you a cool reptile, get you some supplies. Check out our friends over at why did I just forget Andy's business? Southern Reptile Supply. Got it.
Can't get my mic back on fast enough.
Southern Reptile Supply. And get you some Reptichip. I just picked up from him some of that Repticore, which I've moved my Calibars out of here.
I need to get something from you. Yeah, I noticed my friend wasn't next to me.
And I moved the Calibars into the tubs, and they seem a little happier. They have some Repticore and Reptichip, and they can burrow, and they seem happier now.
I need to get some stuff to redo my box turtle cage.
That Repticore will be great. Some Repticore and Reptichip mixed together. That stuff's really good. So, anyways, I think that's all of our sponsors. We got them through. We're through.
I think so.
Anything new going on real quick? We got more newt eggs. Did we talk about that last week? I think
They've been breeding for like a solid 24 hours. Too.
Yeah. So apparently we're getting more newts. So we'll keep you updated.
My bearded dragon in my classroom is starting to take his harness.
So we figured out why we lost all the newt.
You're not allowed to send hate mail because we've already made it pretty bad.
Our daughter has been the one taking care of them, and the problem.
She's 13.
If anyone's ever had a kid, the problem is you make assumptions, and it's a pretty dangerous thing to do with kids. But we keep 2 jugs of aged water on the counter for anybody that's ever kept fish or any sort of amphibians. You age it, it works the chlorine out, it becomes safe.
But we did not make it clear to her that the water was aged. She thought that we had them filled up so that we didn't have to waste time filling up the jug from the sink.
When she did the last water change right before they all died, she used sink water. And we found that out a few days later, and we realized, oh, well, that's what did it. So yeah.
Now she understands the process of aged water.
So anybody out there with amphibians, don't use straight up sink water. Just don't do it.
Good moral of the story. Don't assume we thought, I said, why would we leave it with the lids open? She said, I don't know. I thought it would make it faster to pour it into the container. I was like, well,
teenagers.
Okay. That's partially our fault too.
Teenagers.
A lot of our fault.
Anybody out there with kids understands. You say something to a kid, you assume they get it, and then you realize you didn't explain it like you were explaining it to a kid.
Yeah.
So
that's all right. The way they're breeding, we're gonna have way more eggs here soon.
Have so many newts. Anything else going on? Let's see. I got a new snake, a new boa. She's in quarantine downstairs. Nice motley should be head albino.
Yay.
So yeah, your closet got taken back.
Yeah, I'll get the closet back in June.
Yeah.
The problem is that I use the closet for summer holding for class pets.
Oh, that's right.
And now I don't know where the hell I'm going to put everything.
I didn't think about that.
I figured as much.
We'll see how she
because that's where the box turtle goes.
We may be able to move her out as long as she doesn't show certain things. I mean, I know where she came from, so I feel confident. But
we'll see.
We got a big female motley boa, so we'll see. That's be fun. I've got my other motley boa. I'm pretty sure is pregnant.
She's huge. If she's not, she has a tumor.
So my boas always do this thing that they trick me. When they coiled up, they look pregnant, and then when they stretch out, they don't. But she did take a rat the other day and then dropped it and didn't eat it, and that is very unlike any of my boas. The weird thing was she didn't do a post-ovulation shed, which they always. So she's really confusing me.
They're supposed to do.
She broke the rules, so I'm pretty sure that she is. My dad says it's not a kid issue, that's a teacher not teaching issue. Hey, I made an assumption that your granddaughter was smarter than she really was. My bad. See anal side exotics up there. So another reason for you to hate Canada. Oh, because they can't keep dubia roaches up there in Canada.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all another reason for me to love them.
What?
Dubia roaches.
We don't have to buy roaches or crickets for your lizards because they're eating roaches. We're saving money here.
We are. Speaking of saving money, there was a library in Livingston, Kentucky, I believe it was. And on the bottom of all of the receipt, when you check out books, it tells you they have their system set up to where it will tell you like you just saved this much money at the bookstore by using the library instead of going to the bookstore. That has nothing to do with our podcast.
Not at all.
But I saw it today and I'm like, I kind of want to know how much money I have saved through Kindle Unlimited and our library.
So does like the zoo, do I get a receipt from the zoo that says you've saved this much money by not owning a Komodo dragon by coming and looking at our Komodo dragon?
No.
Can I get that? Or
no.
I saved this much money by coming to look at their Gaboon Viper and not.
Speaking of, our zoo membership expires at the end of May. You asked me the other day when that was.
Should get that.
So if you don't have a zoo membership, I highly recommend it. Wherever you live.
Wages Reptile. She's had a Kindle. She just likes books. She does read a lot of stuff on her phone.
I do actually now. I did not.
Bob Vu's coming. Calm down. We've got him locked away in a small room in the back.
You go by Robert Vu.
You can't talk to him right now. He's in the small room in the back.
Oh, well, let him
We'll go ahead and bring him in. All right. Our guest tonight is Bob Vu of Bob's Balls. How's it going, Bob?
What's up, guys?
All right. So I've got to be truthful with you because I know all of our listeners will call me out if I don't say anything. I've got to admit on a regular basis.
Oh, he hates ball pythons.
I shit on ball pythons, but I always say I don't shit on the snakes. It's a lot of the hobby that bothers me. And it's not, I've got a ton of ball python breeding friends and I've been very selective with the ones that I make friends with, but there's just
really even friends. They're ball python breeders.
They're barely people, but I try to be nice to them in public. But it's
such a mess.
I don't know. I have a it's the
I like ball pythons.
They're fine. It's the
they're okay.
It's my problem is the folks that go to a reptile show and then they try to do it the cheapest way possible by buy like 2 cheap breeders and like I'm gonna make millions off of this pied and normal. And then
but that's what we've kind of taught them, right? The industry has anyways for years.
So you tricked them into.
I mean, I got suckered into that when I first started in the industry too. I bought a spider female and a pastel male. This was 2007, and I thought I was gonna make $1 million. I was like, man, I'm gonna crush this thing.
2007. How old were you in 2007? Can I ask?
I was 17.
Jesus. I was just graduating.
God, I'd already graduated high school at that point.
Yeah, I graduated
high school that year.
Okay.
So, but I've also listened to you on several other podcasts, and that's one thing I want to get is the business side of stuff you do because I'm very impressed with the business side. You took this as a business at one point. You know, you went into it with, all right, I'm going to do this as a business. Whereas a lot of folks go onto Facebook Marketplace and find someone getting rid of a few ball pythons and go, here's my business. And I mean, it's a bunch of single
Here's
gene.
the problem. I feel like when I got into ball pythons, I didn't get into ball pythons thinking I'm going to breed snakes and make money. You know, those all jokes aside about the whole $1 million thing. I bought a pastel male because at the time, all I've ever seen were normals, you know. There's only so many mutations at the time. And so I went and I was like, well, this thing's different. So I bought a pastel male. I spent my scholarship check. So in 2007, I had just graduated high school. It was my first year in college. And I had a free ride to school. So anything I made extra, like all my scholarship money was just extra money. So I went and bought a pastel male and I think it was like $3,000 worth of leopard geckos that year. Jeez. And I did very well with leopard geckos. But when I bought the pastel male and when I was thinking getting into ball pythons and stuff, I already had a few normals. I wasn't thinking I'm going to do this for a business or I'm going to go make $1 million. I'm going to go make money. It was just something cool to have. And I really enjoyed snakes. I had kept snakes, you know, that we caught outside and stuff. I feel like now some of the COVID breeders, I call them COVID breeders, the guys that got in 2020 and 21 because they were bored at home and they looked on YouTube and they saw Miguel or whoever posting about how much money they make off of this. Those COVID breeders, they were bored. They had some money in their pocket. So they're going to go buy some ball pythons. And all they saw was business. So they went in, okay, I'm going to go make some t-shirts, some stickers. I'm going to go vend a local show and all this stuff. And they have absolutely zero reptile experience. And I can pretty much tell you if a person's a herper or a reptile person versus are you a ball python breeder is if I ask you, if you come to my house and I ask you, hey, do you want to go herping today? Because it looks great outside, it's 82 degrees, want to go herping? And they say, oh, what? We don't do that. If you don't herp, I just don't consider you a herper. You're not a reptile person. You are a ball python breeder, and that's okay. I know a lot of ball python breeders that are not herpers. They are in it for the ball pythons, and that's okay too. But again, that's the difference. You're either a reptile person or you're a ball python person, or you can be both.
And your big difference there was you were a snake person who then got into breeding snakes.
Right.
Whereas with a lot of those guys, were not snake people. They went into a reptile show and saw dollar signs and they became quote unquote snake people, but they're not snake people, right? Well, you see this a lot now with once it gets hard and they realize they're not making a ton of money 3 years later, everybody's selling these whole collections off.
Right.
Because they're not reptile people. And I say all the time, I could not imagine getting rid of snakes. I could imagine maybe downsizing some here or there if I had to,
right?
But I couldn't imagine getting out of them.
Did I tell you about the dream I had the other night?
No.
I had a dream where
was it online? Is it?
No, it was.
Oh, okay. Just make sure it's
James Lewis.
not that kind of dream.
Throat punch you. No, I had a dream where we got rid of like everything because you were given the opportunity to get a Chinese alligator.
Okay, well, I would get rid of everything for a Chinese alligator.
It was so funny though because you were like, we got to get rid of everything because Chris Dieter was gonna he got some paperwork approved and it was gonna be like through an educational thing and like you built this cool thing in the backyard. Like it was this huge elaborate dream.
Yes, that is the only. Okay, I take that. That is the one way I would get rid of all my reptiles if I could have a Chinese alligator.
But I thought I told you about that, but I guess not.
No, I need you to dream that into reality. Though I want.
So what is the opposite of people getting out because they either lost their job or don't have enough time for their reptiles, which is the most absurd excuse I've ever heard. Right? I don't have enough time for my ball python. I'm like, how many times are you walking this thing a week? Like, how do you not have enough time? But the opposite, in my opinion, is me and my wife talk about this all the time. Let's say if something were to happen where we won the lottery or something like something like crazy like that, right? Where there's no more money involved. There's no more money involved in ball pythons because we don't need it anymore. Something like in that situation. I inherit $10 million, something. Would you still keep reptiles? Right. For some of these people, the answer might be no, because they have no need for the money anymore. Why do they need to stay in this business? For some of these people, the answer might be no. For some of us, again, like you, now with $10 million, getting a Chinese alligator is a lot easier.
Yes.
A lot easier to get the paperwork done.
We're get a whole bunch of new reptiles.
It's a lot easier to try to get a paperwork for the Komodo that you've been wanting, or Cayman lizard or whatever, blue tree monitors, all the species that you want or looks cool or seems cool. But the maintenance would be extremely costly, any type of caiman, any type of crocodilian.
Mm-hmm.
Anything with water.
Anything that requires water, right?
No, you cannot.
I mean, you could try.
You get nothing from me.
Sorry for anybody that's not seeing the chat. I'm not repeating that one, but anyway.
No. It's like what James always says when we win the lottery, he's going to quit teaching.
Oh, I totally quit teaching.
I don't know that I would.
Yes, you would.
I don't.
The moment you saw me having fun with money and not teaching, you'd be like, okay, I'm done teaching. It's easy to say you wouldn't quit your job when you don't have a bank account.
You would quit your job.
But I get so bored so quickly.
No, you wouldn't, because we would be doing tons of shit because we have money.
Okay, like $10 million is different. Okay, let's say it was $100 million. Okay, the 100 million, because I already talked this through. $100 million, you have to quit your job because there's so many countries for you to see, and if you just spend a week in each cool country, you would run out of time. So you have to quit your job.
Yes. See,
there's so many places to see.
I've told her, I said, look, if I quit and start traveling the world, she'll be upset. She's like, why are you traveling the world? I'm like, because I got money. You're gonna have to quit your job and come with me, or sit at home and wait till I get back.
What do you need? The health insurance? You can pay for that now. Or you can become Canadian or something.
Okay, maybe not that far.
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah,
I'm not going somewhere where I have to put my milk comes in a bag.
Oh my God.
I'm not going somewhere where they tax me. Oh, never mind. Let's not get into that. I was just in Europe last week, so I know I can't tolerate the cold. So I would never move to Canada.
No, I don't need somewhere where you can't go outside for 7 or 8 months. That's
just so depressing, right? But again, you have $100 million. You don't have to live there during.
You don't have to be there during that.
Yeah, you can leave. Just go to Asia.
Did you see what your dad just said?
Just send him this check. I'm gonna put you in a home. I get $100 million. You just get a good.
No. He's gonna have to come house sit and take care of our animals while we're traveling.
I'm gonna have to hire someone to take care of our reptiles.
That's right.
But but like I said earlier, that's the difference is you were a reptile person who got into it and then took it a business route and a real business route, not a I made a logo, so now I've got a business.
I got stickers.
It's just that one always amazes me.
Stickers became a big thing. It was like 2012 and 13, and stickers became such a big thing. Everyone has it. Again, now it's still a thing, but like everyone had to have stickers.
When I was like, going to do a sticker swap, I'm like, what? Why?
Sticker swaps, and you're not even a real business if you don't have stickers, honestly. Do you even breed anything? Like
you got stickers, James. You're legit.
Stickers. I'm legit. Although I made my stickers myself, so I don't know if that counts or not.
They look professional.
So it works.
Yeah, it works.
It always amazes me to watch somebody in these Facebook groups make a logo. I'm like, you haven't bred a single snake yet. Like,
I
not
have
even old enough.
I'm not going to call her out on who she is, but she's a very popular reptile artist. And people would contact her and ask her to do a logo for them. And they're like, hey, we're a new breeding business and we would like a logo. And she'll be like, oh, cool. What do you guys breed? And, do you have like a specific animal you've hatched that's like your favorite that we can have design off of? They're like, well, we haven't hatched anything yet. Well, we haven't even paired anything yet. We're just not getting in. And she was like,
yeah, that happens to her all the time.
Yeah. And then they're like, oh, we don't have a business name yet, but we're brainstorming. Can you help with that? I'm like, yeah. So,
yeah.
So it's funny you brought up the business names because for several weeks now, I've done, I went through Morph Market and I found business names by species that I thought were maybe not the best. And I left it. So the ball pythons obviously had the funniest list of names that people settled on as their business. Right. And I left out ones like yours and others where it's a name and then balls. Cause there's about 50 million where it's someone's name and then balls.
Well, and so I'll be honest. I was one of the first. And when we first came up with it, it was like not acceptable. So when we came up with balls, the actual name was 2011. And it was on, when we first made the business page, I had friends message me saying they can't like my business page because other people would see that they're liking Bob's balls and it's weird. And I was like, oh, okay. And then people were telling me like, honestly, you need to change your business name. But now it's like become so like Bob's balls or John's balls or whatever. It's just so common that people go like way overboard with some of the naming.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll give you some of the ones that I've gone over so far.
All right, what are the best ones?
This one just because it sounds like a male strip club, and I think it's hilarious. The banana stand.
Banana stand. Okay.
They
pigeonhole you into one mutation, but okay.
Say they really. You got balls? ? Handle these balls.
Yeah.
Then there's DZ balls. These balls. This person's initials are NV, so it's envy my balls.
Yeah.
Big dicks balls.
Nope.
God.
I don't bad as balls with 2 Z's, so they're serious. Some of these are LLCs, which even amazes me more that they picked a name and it's the one they settled with, and then they made it an LLC. Trippin' balls, LLC. Hold my balls.
Trippin' balls not bad.
Hold my balls, LLC.
What about balls deep? I like their balls deep as well.
I've not seen that one, but Trailer Park Balls, LLC.
No.
I have a buddy. His name is Eric Seto, like Setto. And he was like, man, I'm trying to come up with a business name and blah, blah, blah. We've been talking for months and he's been breeding for a long time. But Seto Balls was my best name that I have ever come up with. Seto Balls.
This one is simply hashtag pied is life.
Oh.
Again, though, you've pigeonholed yourself into a.
You're pigeonholing yourself into one.
I mean, like you can't if you do anything else. That was one of the reasons that you came up with the name you did, is because it's very vague.
Yeah, simply serpents. It's snakes. Like it's not
because you have no intentions of breeding. Although we didn't plan to breed newts.
That's true.
But
it's I kind of pigeonholed myself into only breeding ball pythons, but that's okay.
Yeah, but you're doing pretty well at it, so I think it's okay.
I do pretty good. But I work a few other species, so I can add like balls, bows, and colubrids.
Just start. Just get different signs next to your table and start having balls, boas, or Bob's boas, Bob's club. Just add tables.
Keep adding.
Just at some point, it's gonna be an entire block at NARBC where it's just different species on every table.
Yeah, it's just me.
But so, when you got into it, and I know I've heard you talk about it on some other podcasts, but not on this one. So when you got into it and decided this is gonna be a business, what was your? Because like I said, so many people say they're doing this as a business, and then they have no idea what things cost or what they've spent on anything or anything. What was your first, like, all right, here we go, this is a business now, I'm not just keeping things as a pet, I'm going this direction and I need to put money into it? Because that's another thing, people don't invest in quality at the beginning sometimes, and that makes it harder.
So I was an insurance agency director, so I was in charge of training and all that for an insurance company, and I was making pretty good money. So I was like, and again, I was so fascinated with the mutation of it. I was buying in a lot of snakes and building up this collection. Made no money. I was in the negative every year until 2015, when we made a little bit of money, and we're like, okay, this could be something. And I already had 200 animals at the time, and I'm like, man, this is another job on top of my job. I'd come home from work and then go in the snake room and work again. In 2016, I did almost $100,000 in sales, and so that basically would replace my current salary. And so my girlfriend at the time, or now my wife, told me basically, why don't you just quit your job since you hate your job? Honestly, I hated doing insurance because I enjoyed the atmosphere of it. I enjoyed being in a suit and tie. I enjoyed the corporate stuff. I just hated the job itself because I had to fire so many people. My job was training, and I can fire whoever I want if I don't see that they are up to par or whatever. So I fired so many people a year. And I just didn't enjoy it. So one day I just came in and told my boss, I'm quitting. I'm going to pursue breeding snakes full time. And he gave me his card again for the second time. The first time when he hired me, and second time he gave me his card, and he says, "Call me when you're done playing around with snakes." I said, "Okay, yeah." And so in 2016, I quit my day job, and we pursued this full time. Basically, at that point, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to schedule out how many shows we'll be doing a year. We need to structure our breeding so that we have animals constantly. So now I'm having to restructure my females to make sure they're laying all year long instead of just having all my clutches within the season. One of the best things about ball pythons is that you can manipulate the animals even when they lay. Honestly, I can manipulate a lot of these animals to push their lay date a month, 2 months, 3 months in, basically with food, the amount of food we give them. And with introduction of the males, you can do later, earlier, or whatever, and get the females to lay earlier or later in the year. So with that in mind, and I'm pretty business savvy, so we went in and earlier when you mentioned the LLC, I'm honestly curious as to why some of these breeders think they have to get an LLC.
Isn't it normally for insurance, but that's not really an issue for them, right?
No. What are you getting sued for? Someone's going to sue you because you. The ball python bit.
Is it possible that they're also doing education programs under?
No, not most of them. I think it's a lot of the same we talked about earlier. People get a sticker before they actually get a business or a logo before
they feel like if they're not an LLC, they're not a real
ball
business.
Python breeders don't need to do educational programs.
I mean, it's probably true.
Most of them couldn't do them.
What are we going to teach them? What are we going to teach people?
This is a ball python. This is a ball
python. If you're a true reptile person, you have 18 different species of animals. Yeah, I see the educational program thing, but let's be honest here. Most of us aren't herpetologists. We're not biologists. We're not even trained to teach. We just know things that we think other people don't know. Okay, great. You're going to go in there and tell them the difference between venomous and poisonous. Yeah,
that's true.
Most ball python breeders couldn't tell you why something is called codominant.
Or what it means. They call things codom all the time, and we have in science, and really it's incomplete dominance, and then you have to try to explain why it's incomplete dominance, and that's not going to make sense. That's another thing that drives me nuts is when I talk about the people that I know this sound like the get off my lawn guy, but when the people in the hobby,
just the 3 letters LLC, just like Sam's saying right here, the 3 letters LLC just makes it sound legit.
Yeah.
I get it drives me nuts when someone tries to explain genetics to me. Someone who took it in college, teaches it as a high school teacher, and they barely passed high school biology, and they're wrong. Like they're just wrong about the genetics of their own animal.
So this weekend, our daughter, we had a 4-day weekend. We were out on Friday. We were out yesterday on Monday for the Easter holiday. And our daughter had a friend over on Saturday. And so they were upstairs working. They wanted to do some craft stuff. But that's where our tortoises are. We have redfoot tortoises. They're small, so they're still inside. But I overheard, as I was coming up the stairs, I overheard her say, but they're not turtles, they're tortoises. It's important as an educated individual that you know the differences between the two.
But technically.
And I was like, oh my God, your friend's never going to want to come back over.
But technically,
you're telling her
they are
wrong.
turtles.
She was trying to say.
My favorite one is when someone will say something and then a new snake person will be like, there are no such things as poisonous snakes.
Which there are. I would be like, there are.
And I'm like, but wait.
But wait, there's more.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. It's so.
I personally love when I have other teachers. So I'm the zoology club sponsor at our school. I ran the education department at a zoo for 7 years before I became a teacher. And so we have 9 different animals in my English classroom.
So fitting.
Yeah, I know, right? But I love it when other people come into my room or like an administrator or somebody from the district and they'll mislabel something in my room. And one of my kids are like, no, let's correct this, because I won't allow my students to incorrectly call something by what it's not.
Well, my dad in the chat says my daughter is her wise ass father's daughter. It's true. When she was younger and we'd go to the zoo and someone would say something wrong about an animal at the zoo,
she would whip her head over to one of us for permission to correct them. And we would be like, nope, keep walking.
Just let it go.
After what point do you think we start to manage that whole part of so right now, I see someone saying many languages don't have a venomous and poisonous thing. So when someone asks me if, was a snake poisonous? Now I know that what they mean. I know what they mean. There's no reason to correct them. I just say, no, it's not. You know, I just don't see a reason in correcting them.
I will correct sometimes, especially if it's someone I know. Just to correct them, just so they know the difference between. I don't correct them as an asshole. I'm like, it's not poison. Like, it's not that. I do it more in a teaching way. Like, it's the difference between a venom and a poison. And usually it's not some stranger. But I do it just because
the stranger asked me. I never correct them anyways. Not anymore.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make a point for those guys that are listening about the LLC thing. It is important that you do become an LLC down the road once your business is established. Let's say if you were to have employees, if you're vending some major shows, you have a lot of inventory, you're either partner shipping with somebody else, where you get into a situation that you possibly could get sued for any number of reasons, then the LLC would protect you and your assets. But I worked as a sole proprietor for the first 3-4 years of my business. We made a ton of money and it worked perfectly as that. The LLC is not really mandatory, but LLC is easy to establish and does protect you if you were to get sued. So.
Does it help at all for like bankruptcy if things go bad, or like if, say, the economy turns and you have all these snakes and no one's buying any? Does that change how that works, or is it?
Well, it depends on your business. Your business can go bankrupt if your business owes money, where you won't. But it depends on how you structure your business. And again, most ball python businesses honestly shouldn't go into debt. You shouldn't go into debt to keep this business afloat. So last year or the year before, we transitioned from a regular LLC to an S corp, mostly because of our employees. Again, S corp saves you on a lot of tax sheltering stuff, and you get more tax credits, and you can split your business up into percentages if you wanted to, and stuff like that. It just gives you a little bit of benefits. But for most people, in my opinion, a sole proprietorship or an LLC alone would be fine.
Gotcha. Yeah. The other thing that I thought was weird as a business, you have to look at much different is, so when I breed, right, I normally breed in breeding season. And like you said earlier, once I'm out, I'm out. If I'm out 3 months after everything's born and all that, there's now 4 or 5 months where I don't have anything to sell, but I'm not a business. So that has to be a completely different shift in mentality of, all right, well, now we have to have stuff to always sell year long so I can pay rent and I can pay a car note and I can eat next month. So how drastic did that change the way, not only the way you set up breeding, but then also decided what you were breeding? Because I mean, that's also you can't just breed super expensive stuff all the time, because sometimes you need to sell $100 snakes all the time to kind of make that.
Right. So as you go on and you structure out your business and you decide which route, again, I know a lot of guys that say, I'm only going to breed high-end animals. I don't care to breed anything low-end. I don't care for the $300 snake stuff. You can go that route, of course, or some of the guys that just wants to breed bread and butter stuff, only for shows. They breed, 20 clutches of blue-eye Lucy's or whatever. We do a mix, high-end, low-end. And once you establish your customer base, you know what animals sell best for you, when certain animals will sell. So we know during tax season, everything between $300 and $500 is going to move.
Gotcha.
So during tax season, all of that stuff needs to hatch and get sold. So between the months of pretty much September, October, November. So basically anything after September, you need to pair all your lower end, mid-grade stuff. Anything after that, so really anything between August and October that hatches needs to be your higher end stuff. The main reason for that is that's because you have Daytona, Dallas, and Tinley. Those 3 shows back to back to back. Those are your 3 biggest shows for the year. October, Tinley is the biggest ball python show for the year. So you want all your babies that are highest scale, highest end animals to hatch around those months. So then you can kind of gauge your pairings and your animals that way too.
So how much of, when you go to something like Tinley, how much of that is pre-sale before you ever get there versus how much are you taking to actually sell at the show? Because I feel like you're at a point now where you probably have a lot of pre-sale. You, Justin, a couple of the other ones, a lot of stuff is sold ahead of time.
Yeah, we do really we've been very lucky. We've sold a lot pre-sales for these last few Tinleys. I want to say at least 30% of my income for those shows are going to be pre-sold.
That makes a trip like that much easier on you then. Once you basically know the trip is paid for.
If you're walking into a show like that knowing you're going to be picking up $5,000, $6,000 or $10,000 in pre-sales. My best show ever, I did Tinley. Let me see, this would have been Tinley during COVID, 2021. The October 2021 Tinley was our best show ever, and I had more pre-sales that show than I probably had in sales in 2016 total.
Wow,
that's crazy. Yeah, it's different. Like I said, when it has to be a business, I just don't think enough people, like, I know mine will never be a business. I have a business name for it, just so that when I finish the show, I have a name. But I know in reality that I am a hobby and will always be a hobby.
It'll be a hobby business, business hobby where you're still supplementing your income, right?
Yeah, I'm buying rats.
Well, he pays for his own hobby,
right?
We don't take any money into the house fund from snakes, unless like we had a snake that had a surgery a few years back, and we used house funds to pay for the surgery. So then he paid that back. But like the snakes pay for everything. Like if he wants new cages, you better get a litter of something that you can sell to get new cages. You need rats, you better sell something. Like that works for us.
And I'm perfectly happy if I break I'm zero at all times with the hobby. I'm good. But I think
what other hobby can you join where you break even every
right. Definitely none of my hobby.
Well, it's like my dad is in the chat is into motorcycles, right? There's no making money off of that. That's just spending money. He's adding stuff to his motorcycle. He's going on a trip. It doesn't pay back other than in happiness, which is great, but happiness doesn't buy you dinner. So yeah, I agree. I think the problem for a lot of people is they don't understand that difference between hobby and true business.
Hey, I'm finally charging people for t-shirts.
About time.
And I'm going to get a little bit extra money on that one. It's
about time.
A lot more than I thought.
She's been the worst. So through our being together for 20-something years.
So bad.
Like she does photography. And when she used to really do photography, she would charge so little. I'm like, I get it being nice, but at some point you got to make money.
But it was fun for me. And once I started charging money, it wasn't fun anymore.
Well, I still like to having money.
I know, but
money's fun for me.
Because when it's free, those people can't demand stuff from you.
Maybe that's it.
That may be true.
That may 100% be it.
Now you're on their schedule.
That is true.
That is probably the realest thing anybody has ever said to me before.
That is probably
that
true.
hit the nail on the head right there.
So now you gotta let all of this doing t-shirts people upset you.
Well, no, you're cutting all the vinyl for me because your machine's faster.
Fuck. Okay. That upsets me. So do I get paid?
Yeah, I'll cook you dinner.
It's not what I was
Paid
looking
in
for.
food.
Okay. But yeah, I think that's probably where people have got to figure out when you're a business, you've got to figure out where money's going, how you're going to make money. And that's another thing when you say, like, you know, there's a difference between I sold $100,000 worth of snakes and I profited $100,000, right? Those are two totally different numbers. And I think most people don't know the difference between, they don't know how much they spend in a month on 30 or 40 snakes.
Right. So the main thing is now, once your business expands, your expenses expand. We have full-time employees. So these guys depend on me to make sales, to take care of their families. You have a little bit different pressure once you turn this into a full business, especially if you quit your day job. Now, you can't just go to shows and have fun and go hang out with your buddies anymore. That's not a thing. You are there to make money. You're there to work. When you're there and the show opens, you're there to work. And don't get me wrong, we have a lot of fun at shows. Me and the guys, we have a lot of fun. But I've also done 200 shows. I already know what it takes to set up. I know how long it takes to do everything. But your first 20 shows as a full-time vendor, it's so stressful because you know that your bills depend on the show being good. So if you're seeing on Facebook right now, vendors complain about shows being bad or show promoters doing this or that, or this show was low. Well, their livelihood depends on the show being good, and especially if you're a new full-time person. And but after your first 20, 30 shows, you kind of gauge and know which shows to avoid, how much money you need to make per show because of your costs, and it kind of breaks down and it gets a little bit easier and you do enjoy it a little bit more. But it's still work. You're going to these shows to work. When you're setting up and a customer walks up, you're working. But before, when you're only vending for fun because you're doing this as a hobby and vending, it's okay if you bust out and go there and break even. You go to a show, you break even. It's actually, you had a good time. You paid for your food and your hotel. You got to get away from the house for a weekend.
Yeah.
It was cool. But now that you do this for a living, breaking even is not an option anymore. At the end of the show, you might have to wholesale a few animals to cover the mortgage. Who knows?
See, and that was our thing when we would travel to do shows. It was, okay, the show has to pay for the weekend.
Right.
Yeah, and it's different for me versus someone who's doing, because look, if I go in and sell one boa for $300, that's a good weekend for me.
Yeah, our weekend's covered.
My weekend's covered, and I'm good. I'm feeding one less snake, and we're great. But then I've got friends who, if they go in and make $300, that paid for their tables for the week, and that's it. Right. They didn't make any money, and it's hard watching my friends do that. And I've seen lots of friends do that and have to go out of business because it just things change.
Yeah,
it's definitely.
I've ended a show where Mickey, I'm not sure if you're familiar, he's the owner of Show Me Show. I've ended one of his shows. This is maybe 2 years ago. I haven't invented one of his shows for at least a year or maybe two. But I was in, the show was decent. I had made like $4,000, and he came over and I was in a bad mood. And he was like, and he made this like ongoing joke about how like I don't have a good show unless I'm doing like $10,000. And I told him, I'm like, I have guys that depend on me to go sell animals, dude. By the time I set up, I buy 10, I buy 6 or 8 tables. By the time I set up, my cost is so high to be here. I bring 2 guys with me as to come do the show. We got food, hotel costs, all this stuff. So again, once the bigger your operation grows, now there's more that is at stake. But again, it's going to be at different levels for everybody, especially as a new vendor. It's going to be a bit more stress. A new full-time breeder is going to be a little bit more stressed, but it gets easier once you've done enough shows and you've done it enough times to kind of weed out how to avoid having bad shows.
So that's one thing I want to ask. I had heard a rumor when you first started out that your setup for a show, that you've drastically changed your setup for a show because you found that your setup was too fancy, maybe, that it how drastic did you change the way you did setups then versus now? Because it's not simple, but it is fairly simple setup. It is.
Yeah. So at first, when I first set up, it was the worst setup. My first show was so terrible. I didn't have a license. I didn't have tablecloth. I didn't have lights. I didn't have anything. But I didn't know anything. Back then, there was no Facebook groups to teach you any of this stuff. No one taught me how to vend shows. I was just, I went out there with a bunch of containers and threw them on the table. And I thought the promoter would have tablecloths and all this stuff. And I looked like an idiot. We didn't sell anything at that show. We didn't make any money. I went home and I messaged a bunch of breeders asking for advice, like what I need to do. Again, this was my first few shows. I wasn't like a full-time breeder. I was just doing this as a hobby, but still striking zero, even as a hobby sucks, you know? And after that, I went a little too far out of it. I was using leather liners as the bottom of my snake displays. I've used everything. I've used every material you can think of as bedding. Carefresh, leather. We've cut our own cardboard. We've laminated sheets. We've done everything. And now we're finding out that from a customer perspective, as long as it looks clean and it looks nice, they really don't care how much effort you put into or how much money you put into the bedding. As long as it's clean enough where they can see the snake, they can, it shows its true colors. So we just went with a white background, simple, went as simple as possible. And it's simple for us to clean and keep clean at shows, stuff like that. And after a while of doing this, you kind of figure out like what's easiest for you to set up or what's easiest for you to clean, and what you like personally. When you walk around a show, there are certain tables that you walk around where you're like, man, that doesn't look good. Yes. You know, in my opinion, yellow lighting on animals just don't look good, especially on ball pythons. Their color don't pop. I don't like certain bedding. Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe. I'll be honest right now. I know a lot of my friends might still do it, but beans.
Beans. I was going to ask if you did the bean.
I've never used beans because I've seen other vendors use it. First of all, beans it's heavy in your display. Yeah. So why do I want to tote an extra 20 pounds with me worth of beans? And also when they pee on the beans, it stains the snake black.
Yeah.
I never even thought about that.
I don't understand the thought of using beans. I just don't understand it, honestly.
Yeah, I get that. One person in the chat asked, when you first got started, did you set a budget for your travel expenses?
I did not. I didn't do anything. When I was so new, I was just like, all right, I'm just gonna wing it, book a hotel, book a table, and go, and hope we make some money. Now we're getting a little smarter. We're knowing, okay, because this show is in this city, we know how expensive the city is. Nashville is one of the most expensive cities to go to the Bend because hotels are so expensive. We know NARBCs are always our most expensive shows because tables are $350 a piece.
Jeez.
Daytona tables are $300 a piece. So we know now to kind of put it into a spreadsheet and budget it out. Okay, this show is going to cost us $4,000 before the door opens. We're in the whole $4,000 before the door opens because this show is so expensive. And in certain shows, like if I did a local show or something like that, we know we're only in for $1,000. It's a lot easier, and we know what to expect. So, and again, I've canceled shows before knowing that the cost is too high versus what we're going to make. So we kind of just have to play around with that.
I do want to say in our chat, Emerging Morphs, our buddy Robbie said, "What's up, everyone? Congratulations on getting married. He got married this past weekend."
Oh, congratulations!
Now you get to suffer like the rest of us.
Shut up!
He's been through it before. This one's gonna be good though. So talking about setups and travel expenses, the setup I think is important. I've been to a lot of shows. I've been in this hobby for 20 years. I feel old when I say that. For 20 years. And I've been to a lot of shows, and you see a lot of the same stuff. And I'm always happy to see setups that are different. Some of them are really cool. Like if you go to Tinley, like we went in 2019 and seeing Garrett's thing, the motorcycle and all the wood. Yeah. That's a really cool setup. But obviously,
our anniversary.
But obviously, that's not for everyone. Not everybody can do that. Or who's the one with the Ackies? He has the tree.
Oh, that was such a fun setup.
Yeah, it has a giant No, not Mike. Oh, Mike has cool. So he had the barrel.
Mike has cool too.
But I can't. Is it Rare Earth? I think it's Rare Earth.
I think so.
Yeah. He has like a giant concrete tree that has cages built into it, and that stuff's kind of cool. But it doesn't take that. Like you said, there's simply a tablecloth, a nice clean tablecloth, a simple banner. That's another thing.
I think the ball python setup has become so cookie cutter. Yeah. Mainly because the few guys that did it first. I swapped over to using this set of lights or this set of banners and this stuff. And again, because it looks good, now the next guy, again, I stole a lot of these ideas from other guys. I'm like, okay, how do I get these lights to strap on? And I travel to so many vendors, so many breeders, facilities, and vendor tables just to steal ideas. I'm like, I like that. I like that. I don't like that. And we just kind of merged it all into one. And now every ball python breeder setup pretty much is ARS displays, 5 lights, pretty generic, alpha dry, you know, kind of made it the baseline.
Yeah. Well, and even if it is that, one thing that drives me nuts, we talk about people making a logo before they have a business. Logos drive me crazy. I see so many logos that they may be a great piece of art, but they're so damn busy. Because
our Gumbo podcast is
the original one.
The original one. It was designed by
a tattoo artist, and so it was art, and it was a little bit. The newer one is much more simple, and I like it. But I'm just like, some of them, just if you would make that logo and then step back 20 feet and look at it and tell me if you can read it without, like, some of them are just so much. That's why I kind of laugh at the one logo you have, the Pornhub one, where it's Bob's Bob, but it's very simple. You put that on a black background, and it's easy. You know whose booth it is.
Remember it. People remember me and remember the logo, right?
And so I just think so many people need to, when they get into this, do simple things. Not one, breed snakes before you start getting stickers and everything. Try doing that first. But just a nice, simple, clean logo, a nice, simple, clean setup.
Funny, I'm working on a nice, simple, clean logo for a Girl Scout shirt right now.
But
that's what the troop leader wants. Is way too busy.
I personally, look, I don't like deli cups. I don't have anything against that. I don't like it for the person selling. I've seen too many things walk off a table. Right. And if someone walks off with a $300 snake, you could have bought a set. You could have bought a used display from somebody for $300 with locks on it. And like that also would just
feel like some vendors just don't like setting up into displays because, again, it's a hassle. It kind of, sometimes people like to buy from deli cups because the perception is that it's a cheaper animal.
And I guess that's also a perception that I don't want. I guess
I don't want that, so I don't use deli cup because of that, personally.
Because you tend to see deli cups on reseller tables and on
mostly importers, resellers that use the deli cup, which is fine. I know a lot of resellers. I know a lot of importers and good ones. I know good ones.
Yes.
Mike Schultz, a good friend of mine, had an animal stolen off his table last week at a show. It was in a deli cup.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, though, because if your table is put together well, and my mom used to say this to me in high school, look like you come from money, act a certain way, behave yourself appropriately, and people are going to think highly of you. They don't have to know your background. And that's kind of like what the tables are. If your table is nice and clean and you have good lighting and good setup, people may walk by your table and automatically think, I can't afford anything on their table, not knowing what your stuff is priced at.
But it's also tricky because, like, look, if I go in and I'm trying to sell a pie ball, right, there's 40 other people that are trying to also sell pies.
Well, how you fix that? Quit being judgmental.
No, it's not gonna happen. But I need it to at least to make sure I stick out and my stuff looks clean. I know the Reddies.
Or have a better logo than the next guy.
Yeah.
So it's memorable.
Shout out to the Reddies in our chat. They said, hey, animals can walk off even when they're in cages, not deli cups. Yes, but normally you lock the cages, guys. Just saying. I love your setup. But a lock, just a lock.
It's been fixed. They have locks now.
Do they have locks or do they still just have like bungee cords around it? It's got locks now?
I thought they got locks.
I don't know.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
It's been a while since we've seen them at a show.
It has. It's been a while since we've been to a show.
But I don't know. It's just there's simple things that even if you're just a hobbyist like myself and not doing full business, you can still make yourself look like a bigger business. And I get some people do pass some of these tables by because they may think that their stuff's more expensive than the next guy. But
I'm okay with that. You know what? I'm okay with someone walking away from my table because they think my stuff might be too high end for them. Because that's not my clientele anyways. I'll be honest. If you're picking and choosing between two pies and you're gonna go with the one that's $10 cheaper than mine, I'm okay with that. You know, someone was gonna buy this snake anyways eventually.
Look at some Nikki in the chat said, personally, I feel like your expo setup is also a representation of how you keep your animals at your home or facility, which may be true.
That's exactly it.
I definitely want it to look clean. I want people to look at it. And look, as someone, I can make them run through a show, no matter how big the show is, in a very short amount of time, because I'm pretty good at well, let's face it, passing up ball python tables. And but
So
also
80% of the show.
I tend to also pass up deli cups a lot, unless it is like a very clean setup and it's like 10 deli cups on a whole table. I can tell this person bred a litter of something or a clutch of something, and they're that like. But when I start seeing like an iguana and one random sand boa and one ball python and one corn, I'm like, nah, I'm good. I keep going through that.
There are certain species that should be in deli cups, in my opinion, like garter snakes. You don't want to put a garter snake in a display. Crebos. So there are certain species that shouldn't go into like a display. But yeah, but for a ball python, guys, just again, from my background, if you're a ball python breeder and you want to be taken serious at a higher level, again, I suggest just going out there and buying a display. Displays are like $300 to $400 a piece. That's really the price of one animal. And in my opinion, I bought a whole new set of displays when we moved. I bought a brand new set, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I just spent $10,000 on displays. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, we can cover that in one show. All it takes is one good show, and it covers all of our displays. Yep. So that doesn't make any sense to not invest in. And then again, once you're a real business and you file taxes, a lot of these guys, ball python breeders don't know about this, but you can pay taxes for what the money you make. And once you do, it all becomes deductible. All your displays are going to be paid for with your tax credits. So, it just doesn't make sense to constantly, again, that's why we upgrade so much. We upgrade racks and upgrade displays, every few years, because it's just part of the business. This is like farmers buying new trucks every few years just for tax purposes. Well,
and Darren said what I was kind of saying. Deli cups are fine, but I prefer deli cups in the displays, the deli cup displays, where at least plexiglass covering it so they can't walk off. They're all nice and orderly. They're all facing the same way. It's easy to look at. So Robbie says he loves his next level display, which I have as well. They are expensive, but they are to me worth it. They also weigh a metric shit ton, which to me is
the one you have.
Yeah. But I got one of the first ones when he made them, and it comes with the thermostat and the built-in light and the whole thing. Look, I can set up for a show much faster than a lot of people because I can just accordion that thing up and I'm ready to go.
That's the next level display, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love them, and I get people not liking them too. But that's one thing. Again, that's the hobby. There is something for everybody in this hobby, and I get that not being the thing. But I also think, just in general, though, you do need a clean setup no matter what you do. Yeah.
James, that's a good question, James. Keeping a friendly face all day at a show is it's crucial, because remember, we do this for a living now. And I honestly, in my opinion, my honest answer about this is that I don't even have to pretend, because I enjoy being there. I'll be honest. I only do a show only one show a month. So, and I get to be there with all my friends, and every show I've been with, I know I always book it to where I'm bending with somebody I know and like. So we just have a good time. Honestly, we have a good time. And I enjoy talking to people about snakes. I don't mind having to explain to somebody why this snake is so expensive, or why this snake looks this way. Why does it look like it's shedding all the time? Why is it half black and half white? I don't mind those questions, because I was that person years ago. We all were in a position where we didn't know how genetics work and stuff like that. So I honestly don't mind. I enjoy being at the shows a lot. I feel like that's why I do so well at the shows. I haven't had a bad, a show where I go in and we're like, man, we had such a terrible show, because my guys are the same way. We talk to every customer. If you walk up to my table, we will talk to you, and we're gonna, ask you. I don't even care if you've never held a snake before. You're gonna hold a snake today if you ask, And I feel like a lot of vendors hate that. Vendors hate letting people hold snakes for some reason. I really love it.
I promise my stuff tends to bite too much. Like ball pythons are pretty calm, but my stuff tends to bite too much.
That's why we work with ball pythons, right? I work with ball pythons, so it's so easy. And if someone came up to my table and said they've never held a snake before because they're scared, they're probably going to be holding a snake that day. Like I've sold so many snakes to people who are scared of snakes as their first pets, because they came and they held a ball python for the first time, and they're like, "Whoa, this is actually super cool. I've been curious, but I've been so scared of snakes my whole life." And I just place a ball python in their hand, and they're like, "Oh my God, I need to take this thing home." And
so I'm gonna break it to you. A lot of that also has to do with how personable you are at your table. So not only are you putting them with a snake for the first time that they're comfortable with, but because you have taken the time to give them the attention that they needed at that table, they are way more comfortable making a purchase from you, because at that point they feel like they're buying a snake from someone who gives a damn about what they're about, like what they're doing. Like you're not just trying to make a sale. You're not a used car salesman.
Right.
Like you make them feel seen as a purchaser.
For a lot of people at shows, a lot of vendors, there's a very simple thing you can do. Look, you can be as personable as, like, I've seen Bob at shows, and he's very smiling, happy, and he does. It's great. You don't have to be that. All you have to do is say, "Hi, how are you doing today?" To everyone that walks by your table, just say hi, and you'll realize so many people that walk by your table are afraid to start a conversation.
Oh gosh.
They're just nervous, and they're afraid to start a conversation.
And they're way overstimulated, because if you've ever been to a reptile show, it is so easy to get overstimulated.
And a lot of them don't feel they belong, or that they're worthy. Like if they come to a breeder, they assume the breeder knows everything, and which I've met a lot of breeders, that's not true. But they're afraid to ask questions. If you just say hi,
well, and not only
they start
that,
talking to you.
but I've seen Bob set up before, and that's a lot of tables, and that's a lot of space, and that's a lot of snakes. And so you see something like that versus somebody who only has one table, and it's easier to strike up a conversation with somebody with only one table a lot of times, especially if it's your first time ever going, just because you're like, oh my gosh, that person knows so much, and they have
Bob
so
gets
much.
a line. He gets a line.
Yeah, and then when you see so many people, the
overstimulate, like you said, they're overstimulated. They're too nervous to come strike up a conversation, because let's be honest here, the reptile community is a lot like the anime community or the cartoon community, the cosplay community. It's a bunch of weirdos. We're all a bunch of weirdos.
We really are.
The bulk of us are introverts. We're not just going to go up and strike a conversation with anybody. But like I said, I do this for a living now. My livelihood, everything depends on this. And so when I'm at a show, I'm not going to sit there with my phone glued to my face, because I'm there to work. I'm there to talk to people. So if you walk by my table, you're a chance at me closing a sale. So I need to talk to you. And even if I just educate you at this show, and you go home and Google ball python morphs or whatever, and you go through my morph market or whatever, it's another chance for me to at least interact with you or teach you about reptiles. So I feel like a lot of these vendors, after a long time, I've seen it in some older vendors where they're so jaded or so worn out. They don't even want to be there. They just set up, and they're just hoping you come up to their table and say, "Hi, I want to buy this snake." And that never happens. That never happens for them, because these people that just come up to the table and say, "Hi, I want to buy this snake," those people are probably going to go to a breeder that they know and trust, or have been interacting with online. I'll be honest, we get a lot of sales where people just come up and say, "I want to buy this snake because I've followed you on Instagram or blah 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 blah, or we've been following you." But the bulk of the people that are going to come to your table are going to have some questions. They're going to want to check out the snake. They're going to want to, and God, I cannot stand a vendor that says, "We don't let anyone hold snakes at our table." I'm like, why? What are you scared of? Like, this kid's going to drop your snake. I get it. It's happened to me before too. I've had a kid drop a snake, and the kid, honestly, it's a ball python. And like, again, if you drop a ball python, it's not that big a deal, in my opinion. Okay. I'm not telling people to go out there and throw their ball pythons around, but the kid dropped the snake, and this kid freaked out more about dropping the snake than I was freaked out about the snake, myself. And the mom was like, "Oh my God, are you going to make me pay for it?" I'm like, "No, it's fine.
You break it, you buy it."
Yeah. Well, I mean, but as a parent, it's a genuine concern. Like, oh my God, did my kid just kill this animal that I don't know anything about?
Chance to explain to her how hardy these animals are.
Yeah.
I just put the snake back, and no big deal. I didn't sit there and start yelling at this kid. But again, that's happened to me one time, and I've been at 200 shows.
I usually tell them, "Look, there's a good chance it may bite you," and that weeds out the ones
just because yours are biting.
Well, but that also weeds out the people that are just there because they treat you like a petting zoo, which I get it. I don't mind talking to those people, and I get that some of that gets people into the hobby. But you've seen those people that come through that they are strictly there to bring their 5 kids to, because it was cheap to bring them to a show instead of going to the zoo, and they want to treat every table like it's a petting zoo. And I'm like,
yeah, there are those people. So they'll come up and be like, "I want to hold this snake next, this snake next." And I'm like, "Hey, we have a lot of customers out here. We want to let each person hold one snake, and then that's done for the day." There's a nice way to go around it. You don't have to say, "Oh, we don't let people hold snakes." And I'll have some vendors tell me, "Oh, if they hold my snakes, they might give me mites." I'm like, "Look, if you're a professional, we've been vending long enough, you're eventually going to get mites. Every
Yes.
breeder that have been doing this for long enough has had mites. Don't tell me you've never had mites in your career. Okay. Because if you tell me that, you haven't been breeding snakes long enough anyways.
Or you're lying, because one
Or
thing that
you're
drives me nuts in this hobby is that people refuse to talk about the negatives. And I'll give all the negatives out there that I've ever had in my entire life. I don't mind. It happens. Shit happens.
Right. It
Well,
happens,
it's like,
man.
it's kind of like the situation with the newts.
Or they die. Yeah.
You know, where like we literally like 50 babies were dead because of this. And, you know, if we can share this and we can move past it, then maybe it'll help somebody else down the road. And
Right.
that's
The
how
whole
I feel
thing-
about
whole
all the
thing with
negative.
mites- the whole thing with the mites is like, it's not so much like now it becomes a preventative thing. You know, you'll probably get mites if you've been a show. You eventually get mites from a show, no matter how careful you are. Now just learn how to treat it. So now we know what chemicals are best. We know how to do preventative treatments. We know how we need to treat the animals as soon as they get home from every show. So I don't care that a bunch of people handle these snakes. They get home, they're all going to get treated, and then boom, we know we're in the clear. You know, so again, a lot of these vendors, I almost feel like they're too lazy to work at shows, and they just expect people to come up and say, "I want to buy this snake, please. Here's my money. Take my money, please."
And COVID really spoiled a lot of people, because it became kind of like that for a couple of years or a year and a half or so, where people are just like, I'll throw money at you. And everybody's like, oh, we can do this. But the problem was, like you said, those COVID breeders, people that saw that and went, oh, I'm going to get into this. And now they're realizing, oh, wait, that doesn't happen again. That's not happening right now. I'm like, no, it's you've got to sell. You have to, especially if you're doing an animal where it's like a ball python and there are 40, 50, 60 tables there with them on there. You have to sell yourself and the animal. Because if you're selling, again, a pied on this table, so is that guy. And if that guy is personable and talking to somebody, he's probably going to sell it before you. No matter how much you sit there and go, well, mine looks so much better than his. Well, then fucking tell us, like when they come by, talk to them, tell them how great this is, and be personable.
So a lot of the vendors, I feel like, again, when I first started in the industry, my first, I won't say my first, like 50 shows I vended. I was mostly learning experience. And after I've become very good at vending, I'll be honest, I had a lot of vendors that hated when I show up to shows. But I vended a lot of shows.
Because they get jealous.
North Carolina, dude, I can see the glare. I can feel the tension of when I roll my cart into the show, and they're going, "Shit, Bob's here." And I'm like,
well,
how much do
they treat you like? Because I feel like some of them probably look at you and look at your setup and look at all your animals and go and get upset to say that you threw money into it, and they've been doing it for 30, 40 years, and they don't understand why they're not where you're at. But you didn't just throw money at it. Like you put thought into it, not like it would come to you. You went to it and did what you had to do.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of.
It's not like I'm a trust fund baby where I had money. You know, I didn't have money growing up. When I graduated college, I was flat broke. I was living with my brother. I was renting a 1-bedroom from my brother's house. And my brother charged me $500 a month to live with him. By the way, I'm gonna throw that out there. It was good for me. It was good for me because it forced me to have actually, work. And at the time I had just graduated college. I couldn't get a job. I have a degree in psychology and sociology. And so obviously I was unemployed. And so I went into sales and did the insurance thing. But it was like, I had no money. Like literally when I first started doing insurance, I had to call my mom and ask her for money to do my background check. So that was probably one of the most embarrassing things, because my account was like, I had like $30 left in my account. It was super bad at the time. And my first week of doing insurance, they then explained to me that it was not a paid training position. So when you're getting trained to sell insurance and you don't sell anything, you don't get paid. And if you don't sell anything, even after that, you don't get paid at all. It was 100% commission based. And after that, I did very well, because I knew my pay is 100% based on my performance. And I don't leave the field. Basically, I go out there and I sell, and I don't go home until I've sold something for the day. Like I'm gonna sell. It'll be at 9 o'clock at night. I'll be like, I'm still calling customers. But yeah, it was not like I came from money, But every dollar I made with insurance or with snake sales, I put right into the business. I went and bought displays. I went and bought lights. I went and bought everything. And people, all the must be nice people. I'm like, yeah, it is nice if you bust your ass and then go, reinvest back into the business, So, But yeah, I did get a lot of those looks where he's like, "Oh, he just went and bought all this fancy stuff. Is why people are buying from him." And I'm like, you can buy the same fancy stuff. ARS does not discriminate. They will take your money. You can buy the same light from Amazon.
It's just some people don't want to put the work in. That's the problem. They think it should just come to them. There's a couple things in the chat here. I'll come back to Nelson in a second, but Robbie said he's vending his first NARBC. He'll be at Dallas. Are there any big differences compared to Herp shows that I should be prepared for? It's a lot more people.
I was gonna say size-wise.
It's a lot more people.
Yeah, there's gonna be 5 million ball pythons because there's no other species.
This show is gonna be interesting for you, Robbie, because this is the first time where basically nothing else is allowed. No boas are allowed, no retics, there'll be no berms.
Again, I don't blame those guys from NARBC. They didn't know this ahead of time when they booked the venue.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be a bloodbath for ball python breeders.
It's gonna be tough. And especially and look, Robbie's got nice animals, but there's one Bob's gonna be there, and there's gonna be some other Will Banks, I'm sure, will be there, and people that are. It's just harder for a one table ball python breeder versus a 6 table.
Because let's say you bring 1 table ball pythons, which means you're gonna have the max you can put on a 1 table is 4 displays. So 4 displays, the max you can have is 60 animals out at a time, right? I'm going to have 5 tables where the ball python's out. Josh is right next to me with 3 tables of ball python. Mike Wilbank's going to have 10 tables of ball pythons.
Yeah.
Rice family is going to be there. All the Texas breeders are going to be there. It's going to be tough. But again, stay active, talk to people, and I think you'll do fine. There's going to be there's more ball python breeders there, so there's more buyers too. Because again, that's where most of my money comes from is the breeders.
Well, and look, and for Robbie and for other people like this, one thing that will help you is that Bob will have a line in front of his table, and Will Banks will have a line in front. And there's only some people working behind their tables that can talk to people. So a lot of people will walk by their table just because there's no one talk. So when they walk by your table, talk to them, say hi to them, talk to them, and you can get those people in there. So Robbie says he's doing this more to get his brand out there, and that's good as long as you go into this knowing that. If you don't go into this show thinking I'm going to go in and make $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, that's fine. Understand that it may be a break even, or it may just be we're paying for a vacation to Dallas and we get to hang out at a show, which was kind of the Reddies mentioned. They said too many vendors act like expos or after parties and they don't treat it like a job, and they wonder why they have a bad show. That happens too. I see a lot of guys who are never at their table. It's very hard to sell something if you're not at your table.
Yeah, walk around, since it's your first NARBC, walk around and count how many times you see vendors just sitting on like glued to their phone.
Yes.
And then walk around and see how many tables are vacant with no vendor behind it. A lot of them, again, NARBC, so I understand Daytona's even worse. There's a bunch of vendors go out there, they set up, we drink, let's hang out, and just forget that we're actually there to work sometimes.
But that's your chance, Robbie, and you and the other small breeders to cash in. Like expect those big guys to be busy and to be hanging out with their friends, because they do the big shows and they see their friends at the big shows, whereas it's different for you. So there'll be a chance. You're gonna have to work harder. Just know that you're gonna have to work harder at somewhere like NARBC.
You will have to work harder than like a Herp show, because again, 80 vendors versus 300 vendors.
Yeah,
there's way more competition.
One other thing I saw in the lost my mouse. There we go. One other thing I saw was Nelson asked, do you guys think hognose are going to become the next ball pythons? Just like myself, he passed on ball pythons because they're everywhere. So I personally, I'll ask you this question in a second, but I personally think that nothing's going to be the next ball python. I don't think that's going to happen again. I know we're a cyclical hobby, but I think ball pythons got us to where we are now as the hobby, growing in all the supplies and the way everything's done, the way the business is done now. But I don't think there's going to be another snake that does that. I may be wrong. I mean, there were other snakes that kind of did stuff. There were colubrids in the 90s they were never what ball pythons are now. What are your thoughts?
Are there any hog noses that would sell for, let's say, $50,000?
Probably not. I mean, there are some expensive ones. Why can I not think of who do we have on in Alabama?
I think the leucistics were pretty expensive for a while, and mostly because of COVID.
With the shows?
Yeah, Harbin.
Terry?
Tom Harbin.
Oh, Tom Harbin.
Tom Harbin's got some that are some of those like solar flare whatever's that are.
Yeah. I know Tom.
Thousands.
I know Tom. He has very nice animals, but let's say the nicest hog nose, let's say $10,000. It's still and even during COVID, right? You're still having high-end, nice animals, but I don't know if anything will ever reach the pinnacle of ball pythons. Pinnacle of ball pythons is like $150,000 snakes.
Yeah.
You know,
I remember seeing a pied go for 100,000.
right? The first Blue-eyed Lucy Super Mojave was $150,000. The first Ivory was $125,000. Mr. Smooth, the first scaleless, sold for $150,000.
Well, I also remember a lot of snakes in the early time, especially like in Daytona. It would be marked at like $70,000, but money never swapped hands. They ended up, one snake would go to this breeder and they'd send $40,000 worth of snakes to this breeder. And you'd see a lot of these expensive snakes, but there wasn't a wad of cash being transferred to somebody, and a lot of them. And, I think ball pythons also were a perfect storm of a time in the hobby, a size snake, the ease that we had gotten them to. Because there's still some tricky things in getting some baby hognose to eat. There's also they are kind of slightly venomous, even though people were like, it's not bad, but I've seen some pretty nasty
and they don't handle
hognose bites.
They don't handle as well. They don't have the impressive size. Again, ball pythons overall, an adult ball python is still an impressive size to a new person. They're like, oh my God, it's a 5-foot snake. That's an impressive snake. It's not overly bearing like a retic or a boa or a berm. It's the variety of mutations, and you can get started for $100. I mean, ball python, like you said, it's the perfect storm for that to have happened.
Because there's a look, I keep boas, and there's a lot of mutations in boas, but you're still talking 6 and 7 foot, 8 foot animals sometimes, and that's a lot to keep 8, 9, 10 of those. Whereas,
yeah, but also how long does it take for a boa to get a breeding size responsibly?
Minimum 3 years, but really 4.
Right. Ball python guys are cranking out eggs at 2 years old.
That's crazy.
I said ball python guys. I didn't say me guys.
I know. That always when I hear someone's like, oh yeah, it's 18 months old. But I'll hear like, it's 18 months old and I'm breeding. I'm like, I get that you can, but it doesn't mean you should. Like that's like if you gave it an extra
like every
year.
time my students are like, so when are we going to have babies from something in the classroom? I'm like, we're not. That's why there's only one of everything in the classroom.
And it's all males.
But that's another thing when we talk business. Like if you wait for your ball python to be 3 versus 18 months, you're going to get a bigger, healthier clutch than it.
You'll get a healthier clutch, but I've already gotten 2 clutches.
That's true. I don't know. It depends on where you're at. So like our buddy Paul Blythefield,
I always tell people it's just based on the animal. There are certain animals that could be bred at 2 years old, and there's certain animals that won't breed until they're 4 years old. Every animal is different. Every animal grows different. Don't expect every ball python to get to 4.5 foot and 3,000 grams. It's just not going to happen. I have animals that have been here for 6 years, and they're 1,800 grams, 1,500 grams. They're certain animals after 2 years are going to be 2,500 grams. They're all going to grow different. They're going to develop differently, and they're going to get to sexual maturity differently.
Yeah.
Certain females I can ultrasound at 2 years old will have follicles, and then certain females at 3 years old are just barely developing. It's each animal is going to be a little different.
And Nelson, you see that with locality boas and super dwarf retics. They're trying to do this whole make them smaller thing, and the super dwarf retic though that's a slippery slope, and it's not always a 6 foot snake. Like that's tricky.
Yeah, and I do like the locality boas. I worked with them for quite a few years with the Central American boas. The only problem for me was I kept my snake room too warm, and I never got litters. Literally, I gave them all to my friend Eric Seto, and he got 4 litters in the first season. He bred them. So,
and see, and I'm fat, so there's no heating my snake room. It is at room temperature or colder if I can. So I'm like everything has its own heat, and it works.
Yeah, my room is 78 degrees all year.
Oh hell no!
Our house is 68 degrees all year.
All year.
I couldn't. My wife would kick my ass.
Timothy said colubrids are definitely where it's at. You know what's interesting with colubrids? So this is one thing. I don't think there's going to be another thing like ball pythons because you're seeing it now. You're starting to see a lot of ball python breeders get 1 or 2 different things in their collection and starting to expand. And I'm enjoying seeing that because you're starting to see some of the more oddball stuff get brought into collections, and hopefully that's going to lead to more oddball stuff reproducing and us seeing it more. I think people are liking to diversify now. I don't think you're going to see as many mono species collections as you did in the last 15 years.
Right. I mean, even personally myself, I have another garter snake coming in tomorrow. I needed another male. and then I have some Puebloan milk snakes. I have quite a few. Let me see, I have 6 garters, California red-sided garters breeders, and then I have some geckos. Yeah, so I mean, I feel like people should branch out. You know, the ball python breed people, especially if you only got in for ball pythons, try branching out, keeping a few other species, even just as pets for fun. You don't have to breed everything you own. You know,
That is
just tell
true.
people you don't have to get a 1.3 of everything. I just have 1 tortoise, 1 lychee. You know, just like it's okay to have pets. You know, I know the breeder inside you. When you buy animals, you're thinking, okay, I need to get a 1.3. It's okay to have other pets and just enjoy reptiles. You know, and I really do. I set up bioactive enclosures and stuff. And just really enjoy the interaction of other species that are not ball python, because let's just be honest, ball python is supposed to be one of the most boring animals in the world.
Thank you.
It just sits there. They're beautiful. I enjoy the genetics. I enjoy what I can do with the genetics. I enjoy how the ease of keeping these species and how many I can keep in one, the amount of space. So I can keep a lot of them. I can really enjoy that. But the other species that actually are interactive, like the garter snakes, I really enjoy the garter snakes because they're always out, and you open
They're fun to feed.
They just come right to you, and they'll eat right off of my tongues, and it's still okay, and the garters are fun. I honestly really enjoy geckos. I actually have a group of electric blue day geckos coming in.
That's cool.
I'm setting up a nice bioactive for them. I just like species that are hanging out during the day that'll actually be a little bit more interactive.
Well, I've got Sambos and boa constrictors and all these things that I plan on breeding. But then I've also got like 1 speckled king snake that I wanted just because it's really pretty. And I think speckled king snakes are underappreciated. And I think it's an awesome pet. You know, I've got a pair, again, we call it the 1.1 Louisiana pine snakes, but I don't know if I'll ever breed them. But I've got them because I think they're cool. And then we've got 1 panther chameleon. I'm getting 1 blue tongue skink. And I have no intentions to ever breed any of that stuff.
Yeah,
Just think they're cool.
Okay, right? That's a true herper. That's a reptile person, not a breeder.
It's funny that you talk about how ball pythons just kind of sit there and do nothing. I've actually contemplated, because we've got a couple here, and I've contemplated taking one to my classroom. We have a corn snake right now, and she is so active all the time. It cracks
so the
me
ball
up.
python, in my opinion, for kids and for educating the public is easier because they're slow.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
because the corn snake, yeah, she does great being handled. And we used her at the program when we do programs for the school. But I just feel like with a ball python, it's rough.
You could take an adult, or you could take one of the babies and raise it up in your room.
That's what I was thinking. So I don't know that I'm going to introduce anything with 2 months
ball pythons every year to the schools. If you're a teacher and you email us, so at shows we let them know if you're a teacher and you're interested in having a ball python in your classroom, you just email us and we'll send you something.
That's so cool.
Yeah, like a former breeder. So we send off former breeders so that we don't want to sell. We don't want anyone breeding these things, too many more, like a mutation that, we no longer need. I'll send it off again, I usually send breeders because they're already established. If they don't eat for the classroom for a month, it's not that big a deal. So I just send it off to a classroom and to retire there, pretty much.
Well, and you could borrow one of my babies, because I did breed ball pythons for the first time in 20 years last year, which makes me pretty much just like you and Justin.
Basically, you're basically one of us.
Oh my God.
So, I mean, I've got 3 babies in there that I made that are probably worth $25 total.
Freaking love it. I'd have to rearrange and figure out where I'm going to put a new cage, but we'll figure it out.
The Reddies were excited in the chat because we talked about before, because you said 1.3, and we always laugh because no one uses the numbers anymore. They're always like, I have a male and a female. I'm like, just use the numbers.
Oh yeah, the 1.3 thing. Yeah, I forget that that's not like a very common thing, and
it used to be.
It used to be a way more common thing. Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to go to. I did ask.
I have something to talk about.
This is related to this.
Okay, fine.
Okay. And then we'll get to yours. Yours the thing from.
Yes!
Okay, we'll get to that in a little bit.
I want his opinion.
Okay. So this was the question I posted this week knowing you were coming on. I said, if you were going to breed reptiles as a business, how would you do it? I asked what species, specific methods, collection size. I got some interesting answers here. So I'm going to go through them real quick and then we'll kind of talk about them. But our friend Erica McVeigh over at VivTech said, If you're doing it as a business, it depends. Do you have someone else in your life that is supporting you financially for a daily living? If so, go unique and obscure. Get into those areas that no one wants to be there. No care sheet or information on how to breed species or keep them successfully in captivity. Go full enclosure builds. Be selective and be amazing. But if you don't have a sugar mama, daddy, zaddy, or so on that can support the daily grind, then find a happy medium, I guess. But once animals are seen as nickels and dimes to pay utilities, rent, and put food on the table, it gets tricky, which is true. And then our friend Corey Martin agreed with her. Austin Stevens said, I wouldn't. So at least he knows you would not do it. Jay Simmons says, I considered breeding bearded dragons, but specifically breeding a lavender or electric blue morph, which I didn't realize that was a thing. If it is a thing. Okay. Just making sure. I don't keep up with bearded dragons. Graham Charman said, I would not know where to start, let alone what to pair together. That some people that start don't know that either. Some people that call themselves a business still don't know that either. Teddy Dalton says, as a business means different things for different people. There's a difference between someone who has a passive income or low expenses making extra few bucks. That's me on that line versus someone who wants to have a larger operation with bigger turnover, employees, and so on. Like Bob, it's two different worlds and both can exist at the same time.
Right. And I'll throw this out there. We have no turnover. I've had the same two guys for the last 2 years. So.
That's awesome because I know a lot of folks that sometimes it gets hard to hire people in the hobby to help you because there are some shady ass people in the hobby who seem at first okay, and then you hear horror stories.
One of my guys actually have no interest in like breeding snakes, reptiles, none of it. He was a AC repair guy, and he's a buddy of mine's cousin, his nephew. And we hired him in because we know he's a hard worker, blah blah blah. And he has no interest in reptiles. And at the time, now he'll come in and he'll be like, "Oh man, look what babies this female hatch and whatever." So he can learn to appreciate the mutations and appreciate the animals. Well, again, has no interest in the actual industry, the hobby, any of it. He just goes in, cleans animals, feeds animals, wash tubs, and does his job and goes home, which is what I wanted. I don't need someone coming in asking me, "Oh, should we hold this back? Can I hold this back again?" That's my job, and stuff like that. But yeah, honestly, we have a really great crew here, and I always tell people tell me all the time about how much turnover and everyone's lazy and all this stuff, and I'm like, well, try paying them more. Honestly, pay them more, and they'll just do more work. It just somehow works that way. But honestly, if I was to start a business because of how I am so critical on myself about failures. I would breed ball pythons because I know it's probably the most boring but foolproof plan. It's the highest volume of sold reptiles, snakes wise. It is the most lucrative and one of the most predictable species. So, and of course, you want to doing the obscure species. The problem with that is I wouldn't do it as a business. I would do it as a hobby because there's so many what ifs. Again, if there's no like Ryan McVeigh says, if there's no care sheet, then what am I supposed to base off of? I'm going to go 4 seasons trying to get an animal to breed. That's not a business. That's a hope. That's hopes and dreams. That's just hoping an animal reproduces for you. You're going to change the temperatures around, and you have no idea how to incubate the eggs because there's no care sheet. So now you're just hoping things works out, and that's not business. That's gambling.
Yeah, that's kind of my collection's halfway. Like, look, I've got boas and sand boas. I know I can reproduce those. I know I can sell those. Then I've got these Calabar burrowing boas that I don't know if they'll ever breed for me, and sometimes it's tricky to get them to eat. But I want to see just for myself if I can do it. I've got rubber boas, which I know people do more often now, but I'm looking forward to trying to do rubber boas for the first time for myself. But those are definitely not things where I'm like, I'm going to become the rubber boa guy or the Calabar guy.
Boas?
I do have a few rosy boas I sold. Actually, so it's funny. You said this guy sit at the table waiting for someone to come up to something and just say, "Hey, I want to buy this," and that doesn't happen. But the last 2 snakes I sold at a show, one was a rosy boa and one was a ball python, and both happened. The people walked up and go, "I want that." Like, oh, my friend who was working the table because it was my friend's table, and he had to come find me and say, "Hey, I need you to come run this card. This person wants to buy your snake." I was like, "Oh, okay."
So I only asked about rosy boas because we're going to California. We're doing herping for a week over there.
Oh, that'd be awesome. And
we're going to be in a territory where rosy boas, that's actually our target species for the week is rosy boas. I would love to see sidewinders and, cow kings and all that stuff, but rosy boas is the target species for the herping.
That's cool.
Those my two species, if we're talking in the United States, rosy boas and rubber boas. I want to see both of those in the wild at some point.
I want to see them in the wild, right? But so many people give me shit about we're spending like we will literally fly to another state, spend a whole week out there, and our target species is something you can find a deli cup for $100. And I understand
It's not
that
the same.
it's not
It's
the
not
same
the
thing. I've
same as
explained to these
finding it
people,
in the wild.
right? I've never herped an eastern hognose. I've never herped a coral snake, and I've never herped a coach whip. Those are the 3 southeastern species I found. You know how many berms I've found? You know, like we went and found an 18-foot berm in the wild.
I've
never
herped coach
herped a
whips.
freaking hognose.
I've actually herped the same coach whip twice because he had scars. So I was able, when I found him the second time, I was like, hey, it's the same snake again. I've herped buttermilk racers, which are similar. We have them over here, the bright blue, kind of like a coach whip, but it's blue. First time I saw one, because I've always saw like drawing pictures in a field guide of one. I'm like, well, snakes aren't fucking blue. That doesn't make sense. And then I saw a buttermilk racer in real life. I was like, holy crap, this thing is blue. It's amazing. But that's not something you're going to see in a collection because no one's keeping that, right? But even if you go see something, look, every time I find a broadband water snake, which are so common over here, it's still amazing. And I still get excited every time I remove one off the road.
Literally, it's my whole story of like Easter. Like my buddy's like, you want to go herp today? And I'm like, hell yeah. And literally that's all we found was water snakes. And we took a video or a picture of every single one of them. It's so easy to make me happy. Like that's like some people ask me all the time, like, why am I always happy? I'm like, it's so easy to make me happy. I could be driving and I can see a turtle on the road and that'll make my day. You know, if I see a hognose, it would literally make my whole week. If I see a wild hognose, it would take. I did find
2. I guess there's southern hognose. I did find 2 southern hognose when I was in college in southern Alabama. I went through and found, I'm assuming, a male and a female curled up at the base of a tree. And then I spent the next hour of just flipping them over and watching them flip themselves back over and flipping them over and watching them. It was hilarious. That was fun.
Some of my students, my zoology club, I have kindergartners through 5th graders. So it ranges in age. But some of the older kids that were part of it last year, they asked me, they were like, when it warms up, can we go like hiking somewhere on a weekend? And I was thinking to myself, there's only like 3 of you that I would take into the woods with me, but
some of you I would leave in the woods.
I'm like, we'll have to see.
I could walk.
There's those 3 or like their parents would come with them.
If you put me on a treadmill, I'm probably done in about 10 minutes. Just I can't do it. But if you have me go walk through the woods, I'll do it for like 4, 5, 6 hours.
Oh yeah,
and be fine.
But it's an activity, like within an activity. Yeah, you're going to hike, but there's so many things to flip over during your hike. You know, it's not like just staying on a treadmill and being bored the whole time. It's like I had a buddy that actually asked me to go hiking into the mountains. I'm like, hell yeah, dude. So I brought my gear, I brought a hook, I brought, all this stuff. And this mofo actually wanted to go hiking. And I'm like trying to stop and flip shit over. And he was like, what are you doing? Like, I'm like, are we timed for this or something? Because I'll tell you right now, it will take a few hours for us to get to the other side because there's so many logs here. And he was like, logs? And I'm like, dude, it's 82 degrees out right now. It's perfect. And yeah, they just don't understand it.
Now, I will say there are days, and it's never with people though, but there are days where I want to just go like hike a trail, like by myself with no one with me. And I don't want to look for stuff. I just want to be in nature by myself. And I just want to go.
I can't.
But I'm not ever allowed to be by myself.
Pass a log.
I'm never.
Look, if I'm walking down
I've
a
always
path,
got him or our kid. I've got
it's
him
a
or our
perfectly
kid.
Flat rock. Oh my God. Perfectly flat rock just waiting to be flipped. Oh my goodness.
The last time we did the Austin Herp show, we stayed at a house that was like had a little park that backed up to it. And we went over there and there were tons. It was just flat rocks.
It's the first
everywhere.
time I've seen a tarantula in the wild.
We found tarantulas. I found my first blind snake ever, and that was the coolest thing, holding a blind snake.
That one was really cute.
Yeah.
So
we're doing the Nashville show in 2 weeks. So it was a weekend after Dallas, and we booked hotels 40 minutes away from the show because it's 5 minutes away from a really good herping spot.
Love that.
It's priorities. Priorities are important.
Priorities, man.
All right.
What else did you have? You had a really good topic.
I want to go opposite of this topic now. So this topic is, if you're going to do it for you, if you could only have one reptile, one species, and you're not doing it for morphs or for selling to make money, but it's for you, what one species would you own?
Oh, that's tough.
I know it's tricky for a real reptile person because you're like, well, I like this one, but this one's cool too. And
everything has its own personalities.
Now I'm having to choose between lizards or snakes, right?
See, and mine would be lizards or tortoises.
I have a tortoise too, but I don't think the tortoise would make the cut to be like my only reptile. Like,
I love
only one reptile. I don't think it would be a tortoise.
I
don't know if I had to set up maybe an
tortoises.
Aldabra. If I get an Aldabra, one Aldabra,
I love my tortoise.
or if I could just have my Aldabra that I worked with at the
Aldabra
zoo.
would be cool, I guess, and like fairly simple care, I guess. Well, people don't understand how much care. Again, I'm not going to go on this sulcata tangent because every time I do, it's like 30 minutes of me.
I own some, and I'm the same way about people. I'm like, stop, people stop buying.
Well, and we own them because they've all been like.
Yeah, I've never bought one.
We've never bought one. It's like, oh, I have this.
I would go
Can
on
you
the
take
longest tangent rant about sulcatas. So I'm going to avoid doing that. If I could keep one reptile species, I think I would go with like blue tree monitor.
That'd be cool.
Okay.
That's our buddy Corey Martins started keeping those. That'd be cool.
Oh, Corey is like living the life.
She saw the light and got away from ball pythons.
Cool. Yeah, she's so cool. Every time I hang out with her,
she just too many things with legs at her house now.
Arlington, so she's always vending next to me in Arlington. So I don't know how Dallas is gonna go. I don't know if she's gonna get moved further away, but we're always vending next to each other in Dallas usually, or in Arlington usually.
I love Corey, and what she's doing now, it's just she's got. I love that she got rid of all her ball pythons. I'm not gonna lie, she's cooler now because of it. But she's doing all these things with legs, and it's just so much more work. And so I've got to appreciate someone who's willing to, especially when it gets to monitors, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna deal with this thing that definitely wants to run away from me and claw me up and hit me with the tail and bite me. Mm-hmm. And she's recently hatched out the black tree monitor. I think she hatched out greens. I don't think she did blue. Yep. And then she's hatched out Ackies.
Yep.
So yeah, and then I'm going to get a lychee from her on Saturday, which I'm super excited about.
Nice. I have one lychee, and it's just a pet. It just sits there.
That's all this is going to be. I want a giant gecko that will just hang out in my hands. Yeah. Looking forward to that because
I think I really love lychees. I only found out about it when I was watching Jeff Corwin, the Jeff Corwin Experience, and he was showing the lychees, and I was like, why does this giant snot look? It's just such a weird animal, and I was like, I have to have one. And end up just buying one lychee.
Yeah, that's all I want. I just look. We have a crested gecko, and that thing looks
so dumb,
so fucking dumb. That thing just jumps off into space.
They loved him in my classroom, though. I mean, we don't hold him. He's like one of the few things we don't hold.
He just leaps out into space.
He just randomly jumps.
And they have like a 6-inch jump, and they don't realize that, so they jump from like here to the ground.
Yeah. Or he's always like, we'll always hear this splat, and he like jumps to the side of his cage.
Are they functionally extinct?
No, they're I think last I heard they're still in the wild.
Okay.
I have a theory. There is a population of intelligent ones somewhere in the wild. We can't find them. We've only found their stupid cousins, and those are the ones we imported and started breeding, and that's why they're all just dumb.
Because to look at this animal, right? You're looking at this animal, and you're like, how did you survive the last 1,000,000 years?
Well, my biggest question is, why does it lose its tail? Why does it not regrow its? It's a prehensile tail. I don't. Yeah,
why did you lose your tail once? And why does the smallest sound make you lose your tail?
Why does a door closing cause you to drop?
So mine still has his tail.
And
it's been in our classroom for 2 years, third and fourth grade, and he still has a tail.
But he's
super active.
The other weird thing is he likes being there because we've had him at home, and he just hides, and you never see him. He does nothing. But when he's in a crowd, like at school with kids and people around, he's out walking around, moving around, active. I'm like, what the weirdest?
Kids. Now, I will say though, last year when I had him in the classroom, he wasn't. He stayed hidden all the time. I only saw him on the weekends when I was up in my classroom. But this year, it's like a whole different lizard, and he just seems to thrive. It's funny.
I like Cresties. Again, I breed a few Cresties, so I do enjoy them. They're easy.
Do you want? All right, Katie has this one.
My mother came in clutch today. So my mom sends me this, and she goes, "What the hell is wrong with people?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And so she sends me this screenshot, and
it's from a local group here,
from the Talk of Pearland group on Facebook. I mean, that right there should tell you all you need to know about this post.
And so they posted this. I don't know what kind
So
of
this
spider
is what
it is.
this is what the comment says that she sends.
Well, hold
me.
on. Let me tell the original post. The original post. Someone woke up and found a big.
Post it. Pull it up
I don't
online.
have it here to pull up.
I sent it to you in a message, so it'll be faster to find. So this is all I get from my mom. Okay, I get this screenshot with one comment circled. Did it bite you? Question mark. If so, wait until the white head shows, then peel off the film from an egg and lay it on top of the bite. Then take a penny to lay on top of that and tape it overnight. That'll pull the head out of the bite. So I'm like, wait a minute. What the hell are we talking about here? And she was like, people need to go see a doctor. Let's not talk about hillbilly shit on Facebook.
This is it. This is what they found. The spider.
So James has put it up. If you're not one of our listeners, I'll screenshot it. Or if you're not one of the people watching, I'll screenshot it and I'll post it later. But my mom was like, "Are you really serious right now?" This is the woman's response. Like, put the film of an egg over your bite
I
and
commented.
tape a penny to it. Like,
I couldn't help but comment.
You know what's the most one of the most ridiculous ones I've heard is if you get bitten by a venomous snake, that you should get a live chicken and put its butt onto the bite,
I haven't
because
heard this one.
chicken's butt always does this suction thing,
Yeah.
and it would take. And when the chicken dies, after the chicken dies, you know you're in the clear because I've sucked out all the poison.
Okay,
Oh,
that's a first
that's
for
amazing.
me. I haven't
I
heard that one.
when I was growing up.
We used to hear the craziest stuff when we worked at the zoo
Oh
because
god.
I was in charge of all the education programs.
And I was the reptile keeper. So
And I would always make him come handle whatever I was doing programs with. And
no, I had a
Oh,
guy.
man.
Whenever I'd feed alligator snapper turtles, they'd hold on to the tongs. They grab the chicken, they hold on to the tongs. I've had people go, "Well, they won't let go until they hear thunder." I'm like, "Well, that's ridiculous. He's about to let go in like 10 seconds. I don't know what you're talking about." Katie had a woman say, "Yeah, till they hear thunder."
What the fuck?
it takes 12 minutes to boil an egg. You could pass out in that.
Thanks, Darren. Thanks for the.
Oh, Lord.
Katie did a program with a milk snake, and a woman warned
I was
her.
very pregnant. during
She
that.
was pregnant. She warned her to be very careful because that milk snake would try and steal her milk.
Yeah,
That's
that's why they call milk snakes.
The snakes
Yep.
were it was gonna attack me during my program because it knew that I would be breastfeeding. And I was like, this is awkward and uncomfortable. Like,
Yeah.
I got told once. I saw a guy run. Van in front of us went forward, and then I saw underneath it a snake. So I jumped out, got to the snake, and it was a speckled king snake, and it had been hit at some point, but it was dying. And as I'm standing there with this dying snake, the van begins to back up at me, and I'm like, "Hey, stop!" And he finally stops and gets out, and he goes, "Well, I was gonna run over it and try and kill it." I was like, "Let me take care of it." So I took it off the side of the road, found like a piece of metal on the side of the road, and I just chopped its head off. And the guy goes, "Well, it won't die till the sun goes down." I'm like, "It doesn't have a head." And then my thought was, you were about to run over it. What the fuck? What was your running over going to do if it didn't die till the sun goes down? But informed me that even if it had no head, it wouldn't die until the sun went down.
You better bury that thing's head because it can still bite you.
that's right.
Oh, fucking people.
Oh man.
Oh crap! I wanted to pull up some of the things from our discussion page.
Amanda Reddy, I'm 100% positive this is Amanda and not Lee. It says, and why are they always so serious and matter of fact when they say these things? Because they are. They truly believe it in their soul that this is the way it is.
Their aunt, uncle, neighbor, someone told them that when they were
My
kids.
cousin got chased by one of those things.
Of course it did. So just going to some of the things over on our discussion group. This is an article that got posted by our friend Megan. It says in 2019, there were hundreds of endangered earless dragons in Australia. This year, scientists counted just 11. Fuck, that's not good. So
I missed that article.
that's crazy. Tons of stuff on anacondas lately. I'll go past that one. I'm just trying to find some. Just people, white people. This is just white people inside of a cage with lions around.
About to say that when you're looking at that again, like getting in a cage and jumping in the water with a shark, just more white people shit.
I don't get it.
Do you hear him, James?
What?
Jumping in a cage and going swimming with sharks.
No. I don't want to go with sharks.
It's still just as
Nope.
stupid.
Nope. Chris Dieter is
Just as
he
stupid.
was talking about putting a cage in with crocodiles
Just as dumb.
at a zoo.
No.
I would totally do that.
No.
I totally am going
If
to.
you're going to do that, then I get to go skydiving.
That's not the same
It is
thing.
totally the same
To
thing.
be fair, skydiving was pretty cool.
See?
Except if it
Ooh.
doesn't open up.
Since I see Darian's name there, I heard you guys had a discussion about Darian. I didn't watch the episode. How do you guys feel about that? With the roach guy.
Which
Nobody's
I don't know.
I've slept since
may-
our last podcast.
So may have talked shit. I talk shit about a lot of people. That's definitely part of it.
I was hoping it was something juicy. Oh.
Darian and a roach guy.
Well, I know there was an issue with at one show they were giving out free roaches or free feeders, and then that really screwed over people that were selling feeders. But they stopped.
I mean, they do that at every NARBC. Timberline does it every NARBC. So
it kind of screws over some people. I think that's kind of a messed up thing. I get it. I don't know. But this one was funny. This was a billboard. This was not the original billboard. This was a Comic-Con billboard, actually. The guy was wearing a board around his neck. But this one, they changed it. If you can afford to go to a reptile expo, you can afford deodorant. Like we said earlier, they're the same people at Comic-Con and at reptile shows.
Yeah. And
see, Bob is on my side.
I went to
Bob says
Comic-Con. Well, it's been a while.
It's been a hot minute. See, Bob says I should go skydiving.
You should. You should experience that.
And
once
then
you're
you
Bob-
can go cage diving.
Bob is not the mother of my child, and it dies from.
You should jump out of a perfectly good airplane once in a lifetime.
I just want to do it once.
Yeah, but if you die, then I'm stuck taking care of our kid by myself. It's not happening.
Whoa.
If you go cage
Depends
diving,
on that life insurance policy, buddy.
Still, there's no amount of money that keeps it from being me by myself. Just saying.
Oh no, there is. There
This
is.
is how I
amount
know
of
you
money.
really
I
love
guarantee
me.
you, there's an amount of money where you will not be alone by yourself. You automatically find love somehow. I guarantee.
love, quote unquote.
Yeah. With enough money, any man can find love.
This was a pied bald eagle, which if it's
Pied
our
bald
hobby,
eagle.
someone's already going to try and catch it and breed
Is
it.
that real or is that
Yeah, no.
Photoshop?
Pied's
looks
pretty
real.
common in a lot. It happens in a lot of stuff. There's been
Yeah,
pied
pied
deer.
bald
I
eagle.
don't believe anything I see online.
This was not posted on April 1st, so you're good.
I didn't even get online yesterday.
Oh.
I was so glad we were off of school.
I love this tweet that Travis shared. I saw a chameleon today, so I guess it was a pretty shitty chameleon.
It
Oh,
took me
nice.
so long to understand that.
I wouldn't say that out loud.
I know. Well,
but
I'm
it's
going to tell
recorded.
people because somebody else is going to be like, I don't get it. And then they won't feel bad because
I've gotten herping for chameleons quite a few times, and I've always found veiled. I've never found a panther chameleon in the wild. I said the wild. The wild's of Florida.
Florida, yeah. Graham Charman said he needs advice. He's been offered a young children's python for free. He knows they're bitey, but with time and effort, they're worth calming down. In my experience,
yours wasn't.
no, it will stay bitey. I'm sure someone out there will tell you they won't because mine never.
James has bad luck with shit.
I just got rid of it. I gave it to
Oh.
Blake. Ended up with it,
Yeah.
and I'm sure he's gotten rid of it now. That he's moving to South America. So,
This was weird.
I've seen this before. That's crocs that have the holes where the bottom teeth come through. That's kind of
Yeah.
cool.
That's pretty cool.
What the fuck? Oh, that's like right next to a boat.
It's a kayak.
But that doesn't look like
Yeah,
an
I've never
alligator.
seen an American crocodile.
I've never seen one in the wild. I used to care for them at the zoo, but not in the wild.
Yeah, never herped one.
All
Apparently,
right.
there's caimans. There's like dwarf caimans in South Florida too, and I never saw those. I found plenty of regular alligators.
At this point, you could tell me that any animal on earth lives in South Florida, and I'd go, yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, probably right. And they have like a fleet of monkeys that are in
Yeah.
Palm Springs. Yeah. So.
Yep.
There are a bunch of monkeys left over from like the
Nope.
Tarzan movie or something that got loose at one point.
And now there's like a colony of them out there just chilling.
Screw that. This is supposed to when you're trying to enjoy a movie, but they won't stop showing snakes from the wrong continent. Oh,
God.
that does.
Every
James
Viking
Lewis does
show
that.
you watch, and there's a ball python.
Well, I watched Naked and Afraid. Naked and Afraid is the worst about it. I'm like, guys, you've been to so many continents. Just put all of your B-roll from South America in a folder on the computer that says B-roll from South America. And that way you don't accidentally show me a boa when they're in fucking Africa. Like, don't stop it. It's not that hard. Just a little folder on your desktop goes B-roll from Africa, B-roll from South America. Drives me nuts. Yeah, that wasn't much. That was all we had on there for this week. But got anything else, Katie?
I don't think so.
Wow.
There was pics of leucistic red tail.
Oh.
I didn't. Oh, red tail hawk.
Red tail Puerto Rico.
Red tail hawks.
I think they mean a red tail hawk spotted in New York. I think I've seen leucistic red tail pictures before.
Google that real quick.
There's someone found an albino retic in Puerto Rico recently. A few albino retics.
Really?
Yeah.
A friend of mine sent me a picture of apparently in South America of an albino anaconda, but it looks like it's a T negative, not like Megan's T positives.
Yeah,
where like
I did see that picture.
Like farmers had chopped its head with a hatchet, didn't kill it, and then the zoo took it, and the zoo actually nursed it back to health. It's got a little misshapen head, but who knows how special it is.
When is it gonna be in the U.S.?
Well, as soon as someone can get a pregnancy belly and go down there and put it inside their. No, that only works for leucistic boas. My bad. That's how leucistic boas got here.
Yeah.
How
did the pied burms get here?
Well, it's different. I don't know if there's a magic portal from South America to Germany, but I know there's a great magic portal from Australia and other places to Germany. So just it depends on where those portals are located. But it's going to be kind of hard to hide the albino anaconda with the fucked up head and go, no, it's not the same one.
Yeah, and it wasn't even like it was a hatchling. It was a pretty big snake.
Oh, it was an adult, yeah.
Yeah, it was an adult, yeah.
But I saw the picture. I was like, that's not like Megan's. That's different. That's a T negative.
Yeah. So Megan's belong to
Ben.
And I remember that animal.
And those were, I'm pretty sure those are T positives.
Yeah.
But I'm just waiting for a snow. I want to see what a white anaconda with pattern looks like. And I know she's got the ingredients for it. So,
yeah, she does.
I went down a rabbit hole.
What was your rabbit hole?
I found a webcam on a nest for a leucistic red-tailed hawk.
Oh wow!
And it's just
That's
like
cool.
I was I wanted to see what it looked like because Darren posted it, and that's
super cool.
Yeah,
leucism pops up in a top.
This is a really pretty bird.
I think the problem is like a lot of folks in the reptile hobby have never looked at animals outside of the deli cups inside of a reptile hobby. So they don't realize that a lot of the stuff that we talk about exists out in the world. And every time they see a picture of like a white deer, they're like, look at this. I'm like, yeah, that's why you have a white snake. Like it happens. Like the leucism and albinism.
Well, it's all these different articles, and they're all fairly new articles, but they range from Georgia up to Massachusetts. Yeah. And they keep saying super rare.
Except there's multiples of them.
But then there's like multiple articles here. I mean, I imagine in
that's like
in conjunction to like all the red-tailed hawks out.
That's like every time you see a leucistic alligator at a zoo and they go super rare. I'm like, really? Go to New Orleans. They have a whole bunch of them off exhibit. They're not super rare. They pop up in alligator farms, more common than you'd think. Ooh. All right.
I'm getting
sleepy. Let's wrap this up then. Bob, people know how to get a hold of you, but if you want to get a hold of you for some reason they don't know how could they get a hold of you?
Pretty easy. I'm on Instagram, Bob's Balls. Facebook's pretty easy, just Bob Vu. Morph Market's a good way if you just want to inquire on an animal. That'd be pretty nice. So any of those options, just hit me up. And I'm at every NARBC show and Daytona show.
Yeah, so anybody going the one coming up in Dallas is in Dallas? No, it's in Dallas.
In Dallas, yeah.
That's the problem. It's in Dallas. Go by his table and say hi. Bob will talk to you. Go ask if you can hold every one of his snakes. He loves
every single one. No, one per customer.
What? That's what it said. You said earlier.
Anyway, out there, if you want to get a hold of us, it is the Reptile Gumbo podcast on everything. I do want to say we had someone on our Patreon up their Patreon from $3 to $5, and I should probably say their name, but I don't have it pulled up in front of me. But they know who they are. Thank you. I appreciate the extra $2 a month. Katie yells at me at how much this all costs to do, so I appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, we got to get the reptile hobby covering the podcast too, because the podcast doesn't pay for itself.
I can't cover both of them.
Katie covers that.
This one's for free.
Oh, well, dang. I'll give a shout out to my Patreon real quick because I probably have about 4 or 5 Patreon members watching. I posted in there when I saw a few of them right at the beginning of the show, but it's getting late. But yeah, my shout out to the Patreon, Bob's Ball Shed. So
I'm thinking about. So we don't do anything for our Patreons, and I feel bad. And I'm thinking about down the road maybe doing like 5 questions, like different guests. We have Bob on. We pull Bob for like 5 questions that we only post on Patreon. And the Patreon people could pick the questions. I've also thought about adding a segment in here of like actual reptile, like 5 reptile trivia questions to see how many posts that we have go on. Like not hobby questions, like, you know, what is the largest whatever, like stuff like that. So I may end up doing that.
Answer this real quick. Yes, I will be at the Reptilian Nation show in May. That's the Houston show. So we will be there.
Oh yeah. We'll have to come visit because we're 20 minutes away.
I was say we're right.
That's the only time I think I've seen.
If we come out, that show was so busy. I think last show it had like 17,000 people out there. A super busy show.
I was helping a buddy vend the second one they had there. You were there. It was also when someone brought you some snakes covered in mites, but that was a different situation.
That did happen. And it wasn't even for me. They brought the snakes for somebody else, and I had to take these things home. And I'm like, I don't want to take these at all. And I had to call the guy. You know,
crazy.
Robbie wants to know if that show does well. That show does well depending on who you are.
Yeah, we do very well there. Everything under $500 is going to sell pretty much.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people do well there, and then I've seen people complain about it. But that really has come down to almost every show now.
Yeah, that's every show. No, we do really well. Honestly,
if
there's 18,000 people through the door and you don't do well, it's your fault.
Yeah, so we'll have to make it up there because the next level cage guy, the next level display guy is actually going to be at this one. He's coming down south for that show.
Okay, I think you told me that. Yeah.
So I'll have to go by.
When is that in May?
Let me look. I have the date. All the dates.
I know there's probably 70 signs around Houston.
17, 18, something like that. Yeah.
So we'll have to go to that.
I don't think we have anything that weekend.
It'll change.
I think that is actually our free weekend.
Our one free weekend
in May.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Again, everybody listening, don't forget to go try out our April giveaway. Just go tell us your least favorite feeder insect, and then go give a like to our sponsors, Reddy's Rainforest, who was in the chat tonight, and Lewis from Lil's Shop of Horrors. He was in the chat as well. Go give them a like and a follow. You have to give them a like and a follow and answer the question, and you can win free stuff. Just go do that. It'll be okay. Also check out Herp shows. Next one coming up is Slidell, April 6th and 7th.
This weekend.
That is this weekend. Check out VivTech products. Use code Gumbo22 to save 15% on your VivTech purchases. I think I got everybody. Bob, hang around for a second. Everybody else, we will see y'all. We will not see y'all next week, everybody. Next week, we are going to release our interviews from the last Herp show that we did. We're taking a week off. So enjoy those interviews.
Because we
got a busy week next week.
It's busy.
So good night, everybody, for watching. Thanks for watching. Good night.